Israeli hostages were recovered in Gaza 8 days ago. Despite the protests and a general strike early this week, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu remains resolute, insisting that any concessions to Hamas would be immoral and insane. I'm joined in the studio now by Shehata from BBC Arabic. Saeed, welcome to you. Let's start with the latest exchange of rockets between Israel and Hezbollah. What more do we know?
The exchange of rockets is ongoing situation between the two sides. The recent incident, Hezbollah said it fired rockets at Israel in response to what Hezbollah said, an Israeli attack that has killed 3 paramedics in southern Lebanon. This is not the first time, but it happened before. But this Israeli strikes and Hezbollah replied. And since the assassination of one of the senior commanders of Hezbollah, vowed to avenge and retaliate from Israel. And this is the reason last month they fired about 320 rockets, drones, missiles at Israel. But the effects of that was not much in Israel, like the injuries and killed people was not many. And because Israeli carried out preemptive strike before half an hour, according to Hassan Nasrallah, the Hezbollah leader, who said Israel did strikes against the launchers of the rockets half an hour before that. So it's an ongoing situation, but the good thing for the region is there is no war. And this was a fear after the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh, and the assassination of Fuad Shukr. There is fear of a war. So the American send weapons and jet carriers, and they sent a lot of weapons in order to make deterrence for Iran not to take an action or whatever. So Hezbollah, what they done is more or less symbolic. It's not really effective, and was not devastating retaliation, which make Israel do retaliation in return. So this incident shows there is a potential war can happen between the two sides. Iran, there is still expectation from Iran to have a response, so there is a problem. And the whole thing is about Gaza, because the intensive exchange of fires between the two sides started and intensified after the 7th of October. So it is alarming situation, and all the efforts try to evade any conflict there. So, and the good news is the Security Council renews the mission of United Nations on the border between Israel and Lebanon, so which is a good thing to help, but still the tension is still there between the two sides.
Meanwhile, huge protests in Israel with increasing calls for the Prime Minister, the government there, to try and reach some kind of deal with Hamas for the release of the hostages.
Frustrations and disappointment of the family hostages and the supporter of a deal in Israel increasing day by day. According to some statistics, since October, there is an average of 113 protests per month across Israel, and this shows how the pressure from inside Israel on Mr. Netanyahu in order to reach a deal to end the war. But it seems Mr. Netanyahu is resilient, is not giving any concessions. And he added recently the condition of the presence of Israeli troops in Philadelphia corridor. This made Egypt angry and not accepting that, because it's violating the peace treaty, the Camp David peace treaty between the two sides. In addition to that, Hamas again is that, because in this case Israel being there will be affecting the future government in Gaza, and so there is a problematic from that. But after the recovery of 6 bodies a few days ago from Gaza, there is frustration, there is anger from the family of hostages. There is reported to be 101 hostages still there in Gaza, kept as hostages. So there is a hope that a deal will help to release them and end the misery of the people in Gaza.
Meanwhile, there have still been ongoing talks to try and come to some kind of ceasefire, hostage release deal. What's the latest on those?
The latest is the director of CIA, Mr. William Burns. He said yesterday that there is a new ceasefire proposal which helped to release the hostages and more or less end the hostility there, was being finalized and will be presented in few days for the concerned parts. And they said it should be hard choices, hard decisions to be taken, political compromises to be taken from the two sides, Hamas and Israel. But it seems Hamas not accepting the new conditions by Mr. Netanyahu, especially the presence of the Israeli troops in Philadelphia corridor. In addition to that, Mr. Netanyahu insisting that demolishing Hamas is the only way in order to protect Israel from any future threat at what happened in 7th of October. Many people around the world don't agree with him about that, but he's the one. He controls the situation, the political scene there. So with the mounting pressure from inside, outside, still Mr. Netanyahu resilient. So the optimism comes from the mediators, especially the United States. All the time you hear there is a new deal, there is very close, there is only a few issues, but the reality is there is no deal yet since the deal was done in November last year, which released some hostages and ends the hostilities for a week. So there is a hope, but the indicators on the ground doesn't help us to be optimistic.
And in Gaza itself, the efforts to immunise children against polio, they're coming to an end in the coming hours, aren't they?
There is 3 stages. The first stage was 1st and to 3rd of September, was in central Gaza. It was supposed to target about 157,000 children under the age of 10. But they reached 187, so it's more than the target, which was a good, according to the World Health Organization, WHO. Second stage started 5th. It will end today. It's in southern Gaza. Should reach 340,000 children under the age of 10 also. And so hopefully they reach this number or more. The third stage will start tomorrow in north of Gaza from 9 to 11. So the hope of that is to stop the breakout of polio outside Gaza. And according to the WHO, should be covering 90% of the people there in order to avoid the breakout there. So the good news that there is helping this issue, but it's still the fighting, the killing in Jabalia and the north and other places still ongoing there. So the hope is reaching a deal in the misery of people in Gaza and the misery of the hostage family for the releasing of the hostage back to their families in Israel and America and other places.
Saeed, thank you for the update. Thank you.